Hey, and welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host as always, Tina. How are you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. How you doing?
Oh, not too shabby after tons of technical difficulties this morning.
Yeah, we definitely were going through it today. And come to find out, I was one that didn't plug in my headphones. Yay, me.
Oh, it's okay. I think that there's issues on my side as well. So we'll take care of those over the next week and see if we can't get back to being 100%. And because we had a good long run of no issues.
Yep, we did for a long time now.
Yeah, months and months, actually months and months and months. So
yeah,
really for this to happen, it's not a huge deal. I think that every blue moon, we should have a small speed bump to go over without freaking out.
It would just be nice if it wasn't me.
No, but like I said, there is another issue, obviously, because you were having some echoing issues. So I think it's a both side thing. So I'll work on that before we record again. So in between all the nonsense this morning, I kind of brought it up last week, and I've been seeing a lot of things online about it, about marriage, and is it something that's worth it now going forward, both in youth and obviously someone our age? Is it something that is going to be around for a long period of time? Because with birth rates being very low in this country, and the intent of getting marriage, I think, generally is to raise a family, right? And now I think with the bigger thing of independent women thinking that they don't need men and that they can just raise kids on their own, even though they still ask for child support. I think that
you had to throw that in there, didn't you?
I did have to throw that in there because if you were so independent, you wouldn't have to do that shit. So
that's
because I didn't.
There's that.
I didn't get a dime, and I raised my kid on my own. So
then you can talk shit if you ask me.
I can talk a whole bunch of shit because I didn't get a dime. Did my ex-wife help me with clothes and things like that? Yes, because that's what parents are supposed to do.
Yes.
And I didn't have to ring her phone 400 times to get clothes.
Thank
God.
I would
text her and go, hey, we're going school shopping. Make sure you pick him up this, and this. And she'd go, okay, I'll have a new pair of shoes for him when he comes out. It was that simple. There was no.
That's how it should be, though, for kids, because kids don't need their parents at war with each other.
No, it's not. It's nonsense. Look, if you have a child, and obviously we had a child in marriage, like we got married actually to have children. I wanted a child, and she said, there's no way we're going to have a kid unless you marry me. So, I mean, I kind of went that traditional route, and he was planned, and there's a bunch of other things. And just because the relationship didn't work out doesn't mean we don't take care of your children.
Exactly.
So I think that there's something involved in that with just marriage in general these days. And we kind of talked about it off air before. Like, is it worth it? If you were in, let's say, under 30, right? Because if you're in your 40s and 50s and 60s, are you apt to get married now? Probably not. I think there's a lot of people just living together and going that route and saying, we probably really don't need to get married. Now, to me, I see why you would want to do it, because I think that there's still something to getting married. Just for a lot of different reasons, mostly legality part of, as you get older, someone being able to take care of you and make decisions on your life and those kind of things. As you get into your twilight years, mostly if you're in your late 60s, do you want someone that's going to make the right decision or make sure that they're there for you?
That's, when you put it that way, that's not a real reason to get married. Like, that's not what the reason.
No, not a real reason. But I think that there's a reason that if you're going to be in this long relationship, if you're with somebody, you're with them because you love them, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that if you want to make sure you have somebody who's can make those decisions,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to worry about life. And I think that's, again, the thing of getting married is love. If you're not, you shouldn't get married unless you're in love with somebody, because I think that is kind of an important thing. And mostly, if from the religious standpoint, the whole point of marriage is getting married in front of God, right? Those are the
Mm-hmm.
things that are important. But from the standpoint of a younger person now, mostly with both of us being through a divorce,
Well,
is it worth it?
I think in its time for me, it was definitely worth it. And I learned a lot, and I did love him, and we did have a family together. We adopted our daughter and stuff. So I think that for that reason, it was definitely worth it. But would he say that now that the divorce is final and we had to split everything in half? I don't know that he would say that it was worth it. I don't know though, because I never really felt like he put any value into all the things that I did to keep us going.
Mm-hmm.
So he may say, yeah, she didn't deserve half by any means. I don't know. I don't know what he'd say, but I don't know. I felt like, to me, it was worth it at the time, but I saw it. He asked me for a prenup, and I said, I'm not going to marry your ass if you force me to do that. And you know what? He should have stayed on me, because now that it's all said and done, had he had a prenup, it would have been better for him. I don't know. So for men, I wonder if it's better to be married, because
Yeah,
they
because I
really
think we,
lose in the state of California for sure.
yeah,
But all these laws were written because women for a long time weren't getting any help, and they were raising kids and they were stuck in poverty. So, and that was for generations.
mm-hmm.
And, they had to fix things. But I think in society, the way we do things, it's all or nothing. It's either all this way or all that way. And we need to bring it back to where it's like more of a fair assessment, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not such a loss for any one person in a relationship, because we shouldn't win from this. Like, not that we shouldn't win. Um, we shouldn't benefit from somebody else having to love us as women.
Right.
In that regards, money wise, if they don't want to be with us anymore. But on the other hand, we normally stay home and take care of the kids in the house and everything that requires our attention. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time with the answer to this one. I don't want to get married again. I'm kind of I kind of feel like my ex did in the beginning. Like, it's just a lot to have to love somebody that way, and I'm not willing to put myself in that state of mind again.
Mm-hmm. I think for guys, it's an up and down thing. Statistically, it's a bad thing for guys. 80% of divorces are started by women.
Yeah, you read that to me.
And then 85% or 86% are done by women if they have a college education. So
the smarter they are, the faster they get out of it, or the more they get out of it.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of a weird thing. Like, and then on the flip side of that, men end up paying alimony, end up paying for super crazy high child support.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a lose-lose, unfortunately, because a woman can roll over one day and just go, yeah, I'm not in love anymore, and divorce you, and you get hammered.
Yep.
And obviously, if 80% is started by women, the odds are not in your favor.
Right.
So
they definitely aren't.
Yeah.
But
so
I think
for me,
go ahead. Keep going.
I just think for me, it's a difficult thing where, because I'm still kind of a hopeless romantic and think that, man, maybe that there is somebody out there that you can bond with and be like an old school marriage. Like, you see some of these people have been married 65 years, and that had to be a rough road.
Mm-hmm. I think time, though, was very different than it is now. They didn't have social media. They didn't have TVs if they're married at 65 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a lot of time where they spent together or more working on a family unit and creating something together.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely not the distractions that there are today.
Mm-hmm.
And the distractions are pretty much everywhere if you have a phone in your hand.
Correct. It's very true. And again, like we've talked about the social media thing, most of the people in their 30s have grown up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally just plastered in their hand at all moments.
Yeah.
Someone in our age period probably can live without social media.
Yeah,
If
for sure.
you really had to hammer down and go, look, I want to make sure that this is something, and we're going to get rid of all social media. I mean, I could live without it. If I, with the exception of promoting this podcast, I could get away with like, all right, whatever, and live very healthy relationship wise without it.
Yeah.
It's not something I need.
I like being able to keep in contact with all my family members that I don't think I'd have much contact with had we not had social media. And because my dad is kind of like the main, patriarch of the family, people get a hold of me through social media to get in contact with him because I don't like to give out my phone number to my family. If my family has my phone number, that means I like them. But the ones that don't, I don't want to start now. So for me, social media has been a way that I could keep in contact with people that I don't want to keep in contact with. How does that make sense?
I
don't
get what you're saying.
I don't want to have that much access to me. Let's put it that way.
I mean, it's just, and it's now with that, it's so easy to fall in with people. So from a relationship standpoint, look, trust is a very, very big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've said it a bazillion times. My thing is, if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat regardless. It doesn't matter. If that's either something you've decided to do or not, based on the relationship you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're both working on it and you're both communicating, at some point you should have the, testicular fortitude or the balls to say, I'm done, and go, okay, we need to find a way out of this. And before it gets to I found someone else, just don't get there. Fix the problem at home or walk away from it with dignity and saying, look, sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's okay.
I think the hardest part, though, was walking away.
Sure.
It was finding what did you say? The testicular fortitude to walk away. We talked about getting divorced before we finally decided to do it. And when I remember it was in an argument, because he wouldn't have said that otherwise. He said, if you want to get up and leave. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. It's we're doing this during COVID. I'm going to need some help. And he's like, no, you want to walk out, walk out. And I was like, oh, you're going to be a dick like that. But it forced me to stay. Did we work on anything? No. Should he have maybe put some effort into that so that I could stay or would stay or felt good about staying? Yeah, he absolutely should have. But that's the thing with marriage. I think marriage is you don't know. I was 29 when I met him. I was 34 when I got married. My 40s kicked my ass. I'm not the same person. So how do you know if you're going to even grow with the person you're with when life changes you so much? So for me, I always felt like 10 years was kind of like the sweet spot. Give it a good 10 and then say, okay, we could go on our merry way and not be together. And If we still wanted to be with each other after a while, get back together. But if we could have split up at 10 and there was no hard feelings, I think both of us would have hit the door.
Yeah, I mean, I made it 6, but I was with her for 10. So we were kind of in that spot.
Yeah.
I think that what you'll end up doing is learning the whole thing of communication. And I think that the younger folks are just different. They're much more likely to, I think, bail out quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that now the divorce rate with younger folks assuming they even get married, because I think that that's a whole other thing as well. I think that it's so divided on feminism has killed marriage to a degree, because I think everything's patriarchy, everything's going against them, blah blah blah, which I don't think is very true. Is there some things, of course, that you can't get away from that, but the nuclear family where you have the provider and protector in the man, and I hate to say the baby maker, but because that's not exactly what I'm trying to say, but that part of it where women are just more nurturing. That's just a fact. I mean, It's been embedded in us for thousands of years, and it works. And I'm not saying that like we live in a world where you almost have to have 2 incomes.
You're right.
Unfortunately,
we do. Absolutely.
And that's sucky. I mean, I wish that we could go back to the provider and the man goes to work and mom stays at home and raises children. I think we'd have better kids, because now we're sending these kids to school where they're being indoctrinated by this system. And then however you want to put that, whatever you think, because now they're coming home going, well, my teacher says I don't have to do this. Well, yeah, I want them to learn math. I don't care. I'll deal with how to raise my children. So
yeah, because they kind of took religion out of schools. You can't even say the Pledge of Allegiance without there being an issue, because the word God is in it.
Right.
And I get it that people in religion are kind of a sore subject also, but we grew up in a time where we had fear. We had fear of pissing somebody off, a family member, a parent,
Sure.
Whomever was taking care of us. Plus, we were taught to respect authority, and that's not happening at all now. So there's really no cause or effect for people that are growing up to even care one way or another.
So do you think, I mean, obviously we've talked about the fathers not being in the household. That's also part of this issue, is that we're driving men away from what we are built to do.
Well, listen, when you have a woman saying you're worthless, you're a piece of shit, get out, I didn't need you anyway, you're just a sperm donor, I get it. I wouldn't stick around for that bullshit. And I sure as hell wouldn't let somebody say it to me and not want to punch him in the face. So I commend a man that has to hear that bullshit and does the right thing by his children, whatever that means, stay in a relationship, not staying in it, but being there for their kids. I commend a man for that, because I don't think women should go after a man's pride or a man's his manlyhood, and belittle a man like that. I don't believe in that. There's strength in both sexes for different reasons. And women are not supposed to come at a man like a man. A woman should be using her strengths as a woman to come at a man. And that is her softness. That's her nurturing side. And that's how she gets away with all of the shit. I mean, that's always how I got away with it. If you wanted to get your way, you didn't act like a horse's ass. You buttered him up. You did, you did your part to make things work. It wasn't you're just a piece of shit. I don't respect you. Now give me your cash. I've seen people do it, women that I do their hair, and I'm like, how can you be such an asshole? It's not right.
Yeah. I think that look, with the exception of abuse, and I'm physical or mental, that those are reasons to leave your marriage. Totally.
Absolutely.
But to not work on the simple things, like what to do at home, these are things that need to be discussed way before you ever get married. Like what kind of household do you want?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to raise children? What's your definition of love? Like, what do you want out of love? How, things of feeling way before you get into them.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the bigger things too. Like dating today is very bizarre to me. It's a very short time of finding out who you are before you can get someone in the sack. Where
really? Because I think that getting somebody in a sack is actually a prereq for whether somebody even wants to date you or not. I'm finding that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to sleep with you that quick. Like,
but I think that that's the problem. People are trying to get there way too quick and not finding out who you are as a human being
or how you're going to be as a couple.
Yeah, those are huge things to me. Those are long lasting things.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is going to die.
Don't say whatever. That. Fuck, I hate when people say that.
But it's true. I mean, and I don't mean die, but I think that, look, as you get older, things change. I think a healthy sex life into your 70s is awesome. Like, if you can do that, more power to you. And I think that it's important to have both romance and sex. They're two different things. One can lead to the other, but I think romance every day is important. I don't see couples holding hands. And I mean young couples. Like, I see people always walking where they're together, but they're not physically there, like touching each other, or like, I'm crazy about putting my hand on like people's lower backs or putting my finger in your belt loop, whatever. But I'm a weird dude. So there's that as well. But I think that that's kind of a dying thing, like being romantic or like opening doors, those kind of things, those simple things that make life easy. You should wonder if you're, I'll give you an example. I think everyone is so self-centered, and I'll say this along human beings. If you're up in the morning and you're in a healthy relationship and you're walking to the kitchen to get yourself coffee, the first thing you should do is ask your mate, do you want a coffee? I'm going to go get one. Or would you like anything from the kitchen? Because I'm going to come back to the bedroom. I'm going to pour myself a cup of coffee. These are the small things and I'm assuming that they're awake. That's before I get on a tangent of that. Like, no, you shouldn't wake up your mate if they're sleeping and go, hey, I'm going to go get coffee. You want one? You don't.
Yeah, but you should know by the type of relationship you have with your mate if they're going to want it or not also. You know what I mean?
You're right. You should also remember and learn things. I think that those are things, like, as my memory gets, I hate to say worse, but
older.
I for the people that are special in my life in relationships, thankfully we have a phone in front of us that you can keep notes on people. So in my contact of the people that I would say I would be very interested in or dating, I keep things like sizes, colors, and so I can remember important dates, like when I met them, these type of things, because those are the things that later on, and I hate to say score points because I don't mean it that way, but when you're doing something and you're like, I'm out, I know she likes this, you can come back around, because those are the important things. I love small things.
Actually, that's the intimate part of a relationship, though. Yes. When you know what a person likes or what they drink or, just whatever, it's one of those things where, he knows me or she knows me. Yeah.
Yeah. You're on your way home. You just get tacos because
Yeah.
like, hey, I picked these up on the way home. I wanted some tacos. I picked us up something. Here you go. And for us, I think in our age, the relationships that we're getting into, generally our kids are going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the intimate part. So if you're in an older relationship or a brand new one before kids, because kids are a whole other thing, you need to have things that are strong points of mostly what you believe in the world, where you're at morally, um, religiously. I think is an important thing on both sides, because those are the things that are going to build your foundation going forward. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
25 and you meet somebody, uh, you're probably going to change over the years, and how you see things is how you're going to build that relationship. At
Mm-hmm.
our age, you're going into a relationship where you're probably not going to change much morally. You know, we're pretty much set in stone. You pretty much, what you see is what you get. So
Yeah.
you have to be on the same page of what you want in life, where you see yourself, um, going forward. Do you want marriage? Do you want to have a strong relationship? Do you want to, if not being married legally, do you want to wear rings? Because I think that can be something that in our space that it's okay to do if you're not legally married, if that's not a road you want to go down. There has
Right.
to be a commitment to this relationship, because marriage, to me, I would still do it. I'm a believer that if you can find someone who, I hate to say is the one, but I don't know if there's the one, but there's a damn close person to that. You shouldn't agree 100%, because 100% is not realistic. That's someone going, yeah,
Not at
I
all.
agree with you. I agree with you. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I agree with the concept of that, but this, or whatever. I would say if you can be 95%, is a pretty damn good
That's
relationship.
even kind of a lot too, though,
I,
for
yes, I'm
sure.
trying to be nice. Let's say 90%, because 10% off. But what is the 10%? That's where you have to
The
find out.
10% can't be your beliefs in God or religion. It can't be in the type of lifestyle you want to
Mm-hmm.
live. It can't be in whether or not you want children. Like, it can't
Correct.
be if you want to live in a house or a motorhome and drive around the country. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are those things that just can't be negotiated. You know what I mean? Those are
Mm-hmm.
big things that will definitely tear a couple apart. But there's so many things that I didn't agree with my ex, and we still got along,
Mm-hmm.
but there's that. I think for me, I feel like if you're going to be married, you got to remember that this is your person that you need to put time into. You need to respect. You need to have some sort of admiration. You need to feel feelings towards the person.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't feel those feelings like in an intense way, you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Correct.
And you don't marry just because you get somebody knocked up. You don't marry just because you got knocked up. You don't marry because, you're thinking that nobody's ever going to love you. If that's the case, fuck, work on yourself. Like, really, there's no reason to be with somebody because you need something. It's got to be because you want to be a part of something bigger than
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Yeah, there's no settling. I
Mm-mm.
think if you're settling, that there's a problem.
Yes.
Because we don't settle on small things. Like, you don't settle on a car. You buy the car you
Right.
want.
Right.
You don't settle on the home. with the exception of maybe being really young and you're like, well, we'll have a condo first, but we want a house later.
That's still not settling. That's the difference between I'm going to rent for the rest of my life versus I'm going to buy something. That's a different, there's steps to that. So
Correct.
I wouldn't even.
To me, it's finding, you're kind of right. It's the one. The only and I think that, and I've had children, there is no one bigger than the other. People
Mhm.
go, oh well, my kids come first and then my mate. No, they're the same. If
My
you're not looking
client,
on the same level as
my
that, there's a
client
problem.
always told me, your husband comes first. Kids leave you. Your husband stays.
Mhm.
You put him first always. It's not, oh, if the boat is drowning, who do you take, your kid or your husband? No, you grab your husband, he helps you take care of the kid. Period. It's
Mhm.
you and him as a unit first. And I didn't agree with that for a long time because I was raised a little bit differently where my parents would have done whatever they had to do to keep us safe. But now that I look at things, she's really right. Like
Mhm.
you don't have your kids with you forever. They're not going to stick with you, and not always are they going to do right by you either. But your mate, the person that chose you, the person that stood up and said I do, that's the person who's supposed to. That's the person who normally does. And
Correct.
that's got to be solid.
Well, and as you grow older, and let's say you were married or were in a relationship, and now you're out and you have kids, w- how much of your kid should be involved in finding love? Do I want my child to love or like who I'm with? 100%.
Why not?
But that being said, I also have to think of my well-being. You're right. My child is going to move and live with someone else and get married and have their own children. I should be happy. I should be with someone who makes me utterly happy. And do I hope that we have family outings and my kid wants to come and be around my spouse? Of course. I hope that, I mean, because who doesn't want that? But I also
Hmm.
can't worry about every day, like, does my kid like him? Does my kid like her? Does this? I can't do that. I love being with the person and I'm with them 90%, 95% of the time now that my kids are older. I have to worry about the longevity of how I feel. And if this person is bringing me joy, my kid should understand that that's important to me.
Hmm.
They shouldn't alienate themselves from my life because they don't like the person I'm with, or they're upset that, I chose this person over someone else who was in my life before.
Hmm.
That's craziness. In that case, every relationship going forward is going to be judged on your mom or dad. So if I was divorced, is my son always going to go, well, she's not like mom, so I don't like her? It's like, well, wait a second. That
That's kind
you
of the
can't.
point of divorcing and moving on.
Yeah, because look, relationships that you've been in fail for whatever reason. It wasn't the right person. It wasn't the right time. Um,
Yeah.
it- I was with them at the time because they got me from point A to point B, but I want to be at C. Like there's people that have been in my life that I dated that weren't going to be anything but a time period,
Hmm.
right? And I dated a younger girl for a while, for like 5 or 6 months. And for whatever reason, that was a part of my life that I needed to get through to get to something else. And hopefully that is the person that is for me. So my kid has seen different people and understands, and I think he knows that if I've picked the right person for me, I'm going to see them as the right person for me, and I want him to be involved in that relationship. And I've
Yeah.
been in situationships where someone was like, "Oh, your kid doesn't like me." It's like, no, my kid does like you because he's told me, but stop looking too far ahead of that. My kid is going to stand by me because he understands what's right for me, because I've done the same for him. You know, he's
Mm-hmm.
brought around girls that do I necessarily think they're a future for him? No, but I don't say anything to him because he has to learn and live. That's what we all do. It's no different than, let's say your kids leave the house and you have several of them, and one gets married, one has children with someone but isn't married, and one is on his own. So now you have your three kids and they're out about. When you get to having a large family outside of that, the marriage matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to go to your children and go, well, I don't like the your baby daddy. You should leave him. And um, I hope you stay with your husband no matter what because I like him. I don't care if you're unhappy in your marriage. You stay with him because
That's
he's
the
good for
right
you.
thing to do.
It's like, no, you should back your children's decisions just like they should back yours. It's going to
Absolutely.
happen. And I hope that in marriage, those are the things that happen. If I decide to marry someone, I hope that my son is my best man and standing next to me. And
That would be kind of cool, huh?
knowing that he understands that I'm in love with this person, and that I've made the conscious decision to have you join her family as well, and that I'm going to have her family join mine.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, whether it's my parents, her kids, my kids, whatever that is, that's what marriage should be about. And I'm kind of dragging that these poor kids that don't have that same mentality. Now it's just, why get married? I want to live the way I want to live, and I'll get married later. And then they're going to wake up one day and realize that time has passed them by.
Mm-hmm.
We still came from the generation of being married at 25. Now people are like, I'm not going to get married until I'm in my mid 30s, even close to 40, because I want to live my life and I want to do my things. This is why the birth rate is so low in this country.
Well, also, I think it has something to do with the fertility issues that everybody's having too, from all the chemicals in our food.
Yeah. Well,
That's a big part of it. Everybody I know seems to be having issues with that.
from what I heard too, because my friend down the street, who's a nurse, says that young men are coming in, because she works in a clinic, and young men are having erectile dysfunction issues.
What?
Yes, young men.
Is that
And
that's got to be food, yeah?
that's what she thinks as well. It's what's being put in this food that is fucking people up. It's and I'm not talking like 40-year-old men. I'm talking 30, 28, 27-year-old men coming in literally saying like it's not always working. So
Wow.
because we were talking about it, because obviously men in my age it's when the offset, right? After 40s, you men will have issues. She was saying, yeah, it's young dudes, and it's not just one or two. It's becoming rampant, that there's lots of issues with that. And so let's say it's both sides. Now you have guys who can't get it up, and you have women who can't have children. We're like literally running away from each other now. And let's say it does work, and then you're having the issue of can't having a baby, or you have a girl who can have children, but guy can't, do it. And then what does that do for their sex life? You have women who think he's not attracted to me, or obviously you're not into me because that's not happening. It's like, And in the poor guy's head, he's like, no, I am super turned on by you. I see you as this bright light and I'm sexually attracted to you, but I'm having this issue. I couldn't imagine in that happening in my 20s. And from what she
No, that would
says,
be
it's
devastating
happening.
because even as a woman, you wouldn't know how to deal with that. You would be devastated if you were
Mhm.
going through that. And he's got to be just mortified. That's got to
Horrible.
be a horrible
Mhm.
thing.
So,
Oh,
uh, so marriage, so you have all these things working against you, where I think marriage is still something that people should share. I think it's going to be a problem though going forward. I think the 20s generation, so let's say people in high school right now, we'll say 17 to 25.
the
There's
Z
going,
generation.
yeah, exactly what we just talked about is
Yeah.
going to have a huge marriage problem. I think you're going to see people just wanting to party, um, and it'll be, I'm just doing my own thing, and I'm going to do my own thing until I decide not to, because women want to have a career and do all these things before they get married. By the time they get married, who's going to want, I mean, I don't know. I would not want to try to start a family at 40. For one, it's
N-
not fair to the child.
No.
I mean, even me, we started trying when I was 30 years old.
Hmm.
And I did the math. I was like, I don't want to show up to his graduation looking like grandpa.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll be 50 something years old, which was perfect. And for people who know me that listen to the show, like I, I think I look close to my age. I think I look in my like mid 40s. And it probably, a lot of it has to do with like, I have a lot of tattoos and piercings and a bunch of other things. So that probably brings me down a little bit. But I couldn't imagine being 40 years old, having a first child. By the time they graduate high school, you're in your early 60s. I
That's
mean,
crazy.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I guess it's becoming like the new thing. Like, again, like 40 is the new 50, or, you know, 40 is the new 30, or whatever the fuck it is. I can't see it going forward on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Men have so much to lose. So do you want to do it? And like you said, prenuptial agreements, I think maybe as we get older would be easier. I guess if I got with somebody who had a house and a, money to lose, if I believed in the love, I would easily say, it's your house. You earned this over the years of your life. I don't want to take it from you. And vice versa. If I, whatever I brought into it, if I had, you know, uh, objects that I don't want to lose, or things that were important to me of value, money, whatever, you sign a prenup and you go, look, you keep your shit if this doesn't happen, and I'll keep mine. And everyone walks away with no harm, no foul in your 50s. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's just hard to, it's hard to pick yourself back up after that kind of damage later in life. So if you get a divorce in your 50s and you're like, look, we fell out of love, it didn't work, whatever the circumstances are, I wish you well with no hate, and there's no infidelity, there's no nothing. It's just, it didn't work out. You go along your way. I think
Yep.
the problem with like a state like California is, since it's, even if the woman cheats, she can wake up the next day and go, I want a divorce, and she still gets everything. There's no issue with the whose fault it was. This is a no fault state. So you're kind of screwed, where I think that can derail another thing for marriage too, is that it's just too easy for young people to hop to the next person.
Yeah. It is. It's too
Like,
easy for anybody to, actually.
yeah, I mean, these days I think that is true. Again, we've talked about the social media, and it's just too easy to get in contact with people that you haven't heard of and seen in so many years. that you go down that road. And I think that those are the things that have to be talked about early into
Yeah.
the relationship.
Well, and
Early.
again, take your time getting to know somebody because, that's the one thing that you should use your time for, to get to know somebody, to like see if you even want to date them, see if you even want to have sex with them, not just like I'm going to do it and then decide after the fact. Like, come on, put some effort into it. And if you do, you'll have a better relationship, whether it's just friends or it's more than that. Like, you just need to put some time in. And marriages should not be taken lightly. They just shouldn't. And you really have to look at, are you in love with this person? Are you doing it because you do love them, or is something else going on? Because if something else is going on, that is the wrong thing to do. It's just the wrong thing to do. It's not going to make you any happier. It's not going to make your life any better. You're always going to be looking for what you didn't have, which was that closeness, that intimacy, that love.
Hmm.
So you got to have some faith and time and get to know people, really get to know them. Don't just, social media is great. Yeah, you can see the pictures. Oh, how cute. She's taking it from the right angle. He's got his kid with him, whatever the hell it is. But like, learn about the person, talk to the person, be close, be affectionate, but take it slow. Take things
Hmm.
slow. Everybody's in such a hurry to grow up. I totally was. I didn't get married till I was 34, but like I was in a hurry to grow up for sure. And now I look back and go, what the hell was I thinking? Oh, I would have made such different choices had I just slowed the heck down.
Hmm. I
It
agree.
didn't, I don't know. But hindsight's 2020. You don't know if it's going to be a good or a bad thing in your life. You just have to roll with it. And that's all you could do. I mean, no, there's no guarantees. Absolutely. And anything could change anybody at any time. But I think that's a walk that you should be doing with a person, and hopefully they'll let you continue to do it. And if you could do that, then by all means be married. But if you can't, or if you can't be faithful, or if you can't see spend the rest of your life with a person, it's probably not a good idea.
Correct. I think you said it best, was that take it slow and learn who someone is.
Don't
That
skip the
should be the most fun.
steps. The steps,
Yeah.
the steps of getting to know somebody, of hearing what their favorite everything is, of seeing how they act in certain situations. Like, everything down to like, if you get a flat tire and they're with you, how are they going to act when you get a flat tire? You know what I mean? Like, if a person shows up, that's a good person. If a person's like not helping you out, or not trying to get you through it or be there with you while you're doing it, that's not a good person to be with.
Hmm.
Because if a flat tire's got somebody stumped, what else is going to get them stumped? Like, what else are you going to go without because they're not capable? You need to know shit like that.
You need to be able to take someone to the things that make you happy and see how they react. And then you go to the same for them. If you're the person who likes to stand on the beach and watch the sun go down, and you're not with someone who likes to watch the sun go down, there's probably going to be issues long run.
Yeah.
Um, these are the small things that you talk to about and text about early, and when you're having conversations together where there's not friends around, and you're finding out these small gestures of what makes someone tick.
Hmm.
Those are the things that are going to make you a happier couple later on. It's not the partying with all your friends together. Those are social events. You need to be able to find out who someone is deep down inside and fall for that person, the person who's going to be
Absolutely.
there during the argument and not walk off and leave you alone.
Hmm.
The person who's going to fight and go, okay, look, we're mad at each other, but we're going to fix this today or tomorrow morning, and we're not going to run from each other. We're going to run towards each other to find out what makes this relationship work.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to be with someone who's going to be a runner. Don't run away. Don't lean on someone at work. Don't go over here and talk to this person. Talk to me, fix it. If not, we'll understand more that we're falling apart and if we're going to fix that or if we're going to decide to end it. But running away or being the lesser person and just standing up and walking away and leaving someone behind is the worst part of anything. Don't do that to
Mm-hmm.
me. I look, we're together and it's okay. You can be mad at me. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you got to hurt someone's feelings to make sure that everyone understands that the marriage means something. And again, fight for the right things and fight for the small things. The small things are
Mm-hmm.
what make life worth living. I wrote something down the other day and I was driving around and this is what I said. The secret to a relationship is to cherish the small things, not complain about them.
Very
And
true.
I think that's the biggest thing. Cherish those small things. They mean something. Sometimes it's the crack in a smile or a look in the eye that can change your day. It's something I think that people are missing out on. I heard something that was a, on a podcast that I listened to, and I found it very interesting. It's called hoflation. Yes, and I said that like HOE. That today someone has to work 4 or 5 times harder to find someone 20 times worse than their grandma.
Oh,
So
shit.
so a guy who your grandfather had to not work very hard to catch someone as good as your grandmother
Mm-hmm.
than someone does today, which is scary to me because your women like your grandma or men like your grandfather don't exist today. They're not willing to put in that work.
Right.
We're, and I hate to keep harping that our generation's good, but I think we're the last generation to have that in us. Like we're willing to work on a relationship. We're willing to at least, if the girl you're with wants to go to couple therapy or the man you're with wants to do it, he's putting up a flare saying he wants to make it work. Now people just say fuck it and go, whatever, I'm leaving. And won't even text you back. You might be in a relationship for months and just someone just disappears. They just ghost you. They're gone. Like I don't want that shit. Be straight up with me.
Mm-hmm.
We date, we do this, we do this, we do this. And at some point, if you're starting to bleed out of that and go, look, maybe this isn't working, be upfront with me. Just say it's not working anymore. And I'm going to do the same. Like sometimes the person that you think you should be with isn't the one. And that happens.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But test the theory. But be upfront with the people that you're with. If you're in something that you don't want to be in, get out of it. For fuck's sake. Don't wait around thinking, is this the person I'm going to marry? Find the one that you're going to marry. If that's your end game, they're out there. And if not, find the person you want to be in a relationship with. Look at Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Yeah,
They've
never
been together
been
like
married.
40 years. They're not married. They never got married. And they've been together that long. It can happen. But I think you have to be willing to make the step to fix a relationship, to find the person to get married.
I agree.
And that's out there. I hope young people go back to that. I hope that we go back to having a bond that means something, that's more than just a legal piece of paper. It should be, sure, if the state wants to see that you're married, that's awesome. But make the ring mean something. And it doesn't have to be a 25 carat ring. It needs to be something that means something. It can be bands and still mean the same thing.
We need to get back to where things mean something, not how big something is before it has value.
Mm-hmm.
Because I hear that a lot. My ring when I got married wasn't a big ring. It wasn't tiny, but it wasn't a big ring. And I freaking loved that ring. And then you build on that. Like we got it. I had an engagement ring and I had other jewelry, but that ring, until it got stolen and when my house was robbed, that meant everything to me, because that
Sure.
meant he said yes for me, to me, with
Correct.
me. I kind of dug that, and it wasn't about the size. And I have friends that got married when they were in their early 20s. They got these little tiny rings. They're so adorable, and they won't change them, and they don't want them bigger because they feel like that's their lucky charm. And I'm like, I love that it's not
Yeah.
about what he got you. It's about
about what
why
it
you wear
means.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
kind of cute. I think it's so special, and I admire them for that. I don't look at them and go, "Wow, he was cheap." I'm like, I really admire the fact that you've been together so long and you had to grow to have what you have. I think that's fantastic. And that's what a relationship should be. It should be growing together, not finding ways to fuck each other over.
Yeah. I think going forward, if I do ever get married again, I want it to be very small, like very small, like
Yeah.
maybe a handful of friends and my family. And then if you decide to have a reception, that's when you have a
Throw a
party.
party. Yeah.
But my wedding will be very small, very intimate, because I want it to be about the person I'm with, that they understand that it's not a spectacle, it's love.
Yeah.
So
And on that, we should call it quits, because we're at about
we're way ahead.
56 minutes. We're going over.
Look at that. And yeah. Anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
Yeah, just check out our socials on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure you like and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes, share the show. Send us to your friends and say, hey, listen to these two lovely people talk about lots of subjects.
And thank you all for sharing, that have shared. And thank you for your feedback. I've been getting some feedback, which is kind of cool. And keep listening.
Keep listening. And this is an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday, and we'll see you in a week. Talk to you later, team.
Bye.